This is a new thing. Little weird. I've been building to this for probably about 16, 17 years.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alex Loyd, and welcome to the failure response. Yes, you have a failure switch inside you, literally in your brain, and if it gets flipped on to failure, there's nothing you can do about it. You are going to experience the thoughts, emotions, feelings, and even actions many times of failure. My friend, Dr. Caroline Leaf, who wrote the wonderful best-selling book, Who Switched Off My Brain, talks about this in her book, that when you're switched to failure, which we're going to talk about today for a couple of minutes, it is always, 100% of the time, a malfunction. Okay? You have zero mechanisms in you for the negative. So if you're experiencing a continual negative, and that's what this failure response does, it is always a malfunction. And so I would ask yourself, would you go a week with your computer malfunctioning where you couldn't do your work or social or emailing friends or whatever? Probably not. But many people go their whole life with their failure switch turned on, and not only do they not do anything about it, they don't even know it's happening. They blame it on their current circumstances. Okay? Now, if you haven't already seen, the number one issue in all of health, the number one cause of all mental and emotional illness, and the number one cause of all physical illness and disease, I would encourage you to watch those. Those are really the foundation for what we're going to talk about now. Okay? So let's talk about the failure response just a couple of minutes. And I would ask yourself as we're going through this, if I had the choice of this, and then our next one is going to be the success response, because you also have a success switch. If I had the choice between this and what happens when the success switch is flipped on, which we're not going to talk about today, but that'll be the next one, which would I choose? And when you see the success one compared to this, you'll see that's an idiotic question. There's no one who's ever lived that would choose this instead of what happens when your success switch is flipped. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So you might ask yourself, is there anyone in the world, anyone I've ever known, that I would want this for? And I hope and pray that the answer is no. Okay? But let's talk about what it is, and then next time we'll come with the good news. This might be kind of depressing until you watch the next one, but I promise you the next one's coming, and it is good news, and it is how to turn this off. Okay? And that's what we're all about. All right. So if the failure switch in your brain gets flipped, and it happens all the time, actually the research says that it should happen 1 or 2 times a year for a total of about an hour of your year over those 1, 2, or 3 times, and then you're right back into success. So failure gets flipped because of some situation, but 20 minutes later, you're right back to success. But the research also shows that today that's not what's happening. That we have devolved in our thinking and mind to the point that today, the research says, the average person is going here 5 to 15 times every day. We're living there. And our bodies and minds aren't built to live there. And that's why we're seeing such a spike in not only mental and emotional issues, which we've never seen close to where they are today after COVID, as well as physical health issues. We're living longer physically, but we're sicker and sicker. More surgeries, more medications, more diagnoses than ever in history. Why is that? We're making advancements in science. So how come we're sicker and sicker? I think it's because they have not identified, the medical community yet, this as the source of the problem. They're looking at everything else, but not this. And this is where I believe even the research indicates it's coming from. So if they know that, if the scientific community knows this is where it's coming from, why wouldn't they be focused there? Well, two things come to mind. One is money. The other one is that they don't have a way to fix this yet. But I believe we do. And that's what we've been doing for the last almost 25 years now. So let's get to the failure response. When it gets flipped, what happens? Number one, it dumbs you down. Literally sucks away your intelligence. You could go from super smart, like 130 IQ, to like 80 IQ. Confusion, no clarity. How well do you think you're going to do your job at an 80 IQ, down from 130? How well do you think you're going to do relationships with all this stuff going on in your life? So, dumbs you down, makes you sick. How does it make you sick? When this happens, when the failure switch gets turned on, the very first thing that happens, your immune system gets turned down or completely off, because it's the biggest utilizer of energy in the body. All right? It drains your energy. If this bottle represented a whole day's worth of energy to do a whole day's worth of work, when the failure switch gets flipped, it can take half of your energy for the day, which means if you're here, and most people are these days, you've got half a day or less than a full day's worth of energy to do a full day's worth of work or relationships or play or whatever. So what does that mean? It means halfway through the day, you're starting to feel tired and exhausted, which is the number one complaint of everyone, 50 states, 184 countries who have come to us over the last 24 years, is I'm exhausted all the time. Well, that's exactly what this does. Suppresses your immune system, we already talked about that. Increases pain. If you're not in pain, it'll tend to initiate pain. Fun on that one, right? Raises your blood pressure. Closes your cells. Dr. Bruce Lipton from Stanford Medical School says and writes in his best-selling book that every cell in your body at any given time is either open or closed. If it's open, it's healthy, it's doing the job it's supposed to do, it reproduces, it doesn't get sick. If it's closed, it doesn't do its job, it's unhealthy, can't get rid of waste and toxins, can't take in oxygen, nutrition, and energy, and before it dies, the odds go through the roof that a disease gene will manifest that never would have manifested any other way. And Dr. Lipton says that's the only way you can get a disease, is that cell with the failure switch flipped. So it closes your cells, destroys relationships. It does that because it does all the others. How great do you think you're going to be in relationships, listening and communicating, troubleshooting, problem solving, if you're sick, tired, dumbed down, energy drained, and in pain? Probably not very good. It causes every negative emotion and feeling known to man. Anger, anxiety, depression, confusion, fear, low self-worth, rejection, you name it. And this is the biggest one, the last one. It causes you to do everything you're doing at the moment from a negative instead of a positive perspective, even if you paint on a happy face in order to be socially acceptable. And when the failure switch gets flipped, it does all of this, not just one or two of them. And there's several not on the list here just for the sake of brevity, simplicity, and clarity. But it does more than these. But all of these will happen, not one or two of them. And you can't stop it with your willpower once it's been flipped. All right? So, Kind of depressing, right? But the good news is well, this isn't the good news. There's a really good chance you are here right now. The latest research also indicates the average person today, with our mind and thinking devolved over hundreds of years and even millennium, that the average person today, not the outlier, the average leans 80% to the negative. 80%. That's let's take it the other way. Not only is that going to challenge your relationships, they're not going to have a whole lot of fun living with you either. So you're going to have problems with them, they're going to have problems with you if you're living here. That maybe if you were just not in failure, those problems wouldn't be there without any difference in your circumstances or without any effort. So they're not really coming from the other person in the relationship a lot of times. They're coming because you're in the failure response. So, but next time, we're going to talk about the success response, the success switch, and how to flip the failure off and the success on. So don't just be depressed with this one. Watch the next one and get out of here to success every day, all day, and loads of energy and all of that. But that's for next time. So I hope this will shake you up enough to do something about it like you would if your computer was malfunctioning. And I believe we have the thing to do that will take you from failure to success. But that's for next time. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, blessed day.